Hi, this is Tom Burkett with the Songbird Live, and we're on another episode of Sessions. Today, we're talking with Rob Vono. He is a master arranger and composer, and he recently retired from the Navy as the staff arranger of the Navy Band in Washington, D.C. Rob, tell me what you did in the Navy. What was your job? What kinds of things were you tasked to do?
Well, originally hired as a trumpet player, as you know,
Right.
and started
Sure.
off that way. But I had college. I studied composition, and so that was always something that I worked at as well. And there was an opening actually in DC for a writer composer, and one of those spots had opened up. And so in that position, I wrote. Oh my goodness, I can't even tell you how many different arrangements and compositions for all different size and a variety of groups and all different venues and genres of music. So I wrote with Navy Band DC. I wrote for a very large symphonic wind ensemble. I also wrote for a 20 voice choir edition. I think 18
That's
piece.
the Sea Shanners?
There was the Sea Chanters, yes. Country Current was a bluegrass country western type of group, pedal guitar and all that, and fiddle and all that. It was a great group. Also for the Commodores, the jazz ensemble, 18-piece jazz ensemble, and for a whole bunch of different guest artists
In
as
our
well.
world, we called it a big band.
Big band, right? Yeah. So did quite a bit of that. And so that was what I did mostly with. It was busy year round, as you can remember. We had quite a busy writing schedule, so it was just myself and one other person, and we supplied all the music for the DC band.
Now, you also did some things for the National Symphony Orchestra, didn't you?
Through other artists who were performing with them. There was
I see.
one person who was pianist, and I had written some arrangements for him that was performed by National Symphony Orchestra. Yes, and some other orchestras I play a lot of my stuff, but again through other artists. Often will hire me to arrange music for them for an orchestra, which they can then carry with them to different orchestras throughout the country. And that's what I've done.
Um, just a quick story about one of the experiences that I had with you. Rob and I went to the basic training in Great Lakes, Illinois, or we affectionately called it Great Mistakes, Illinois. My first experience with you writing an arrangement was very strange in that we were in the ceremonial group, which meant that we had access to instruments and were able to practice a little bit because we did the graduation. And then I was able to get my brass quintet sent, my book sent, which is very unusual. So we actually had a brass quintet in in basic training. But problem is we couldn't get practice time. And so Rob came up with this great idea. Hey, our company commander was from Cape Cod. I know that song, and how about I write an arrangement, that and so he'll like it, and so he'll give us some time. Well, I thought, well, gee, that's a great idea, but you don't have a piano, you don't have music staff paper, you don't have, you didn't have time. But you thought it was a great idea. And so what I did is I pilfered some typing paper, and I would sit in my bed at night, and I would create the lines for music paper, and then I passed it to you in the bunk next to me, and you would sit and write this, but you didn't have any kind of a piano or anything to kind of check your voicings or see how these chords sound together or whatever. But anyway, Rob, it turns out, wrote this great arrangement of Cape Cod, and he did it all in his head, and it turned out fantastically. And sure enough, it worked. Every time it was time to do push-ups or anything like that, Rob would say, "Hey, we really need to practice that song, Old Cape Cod." And sure enough, everybody else is doing. They call it physical training mainly I call it punishment. But anyway, but we were pretty much able to get out of that because of this great arrangement that you did. In fact, it was such a
What's that?
great arrangement that we used it on our CD, and we played verbatim what you wrote in boot camp without piano or anything like that, and it was just amazing. And that was 5, 6 years after you wrote it, and you still remembered the whole thing. I thought that was amazing. Anyway, so that was how I knew what a great writer you turned out to be. And then, shortly after that, you wound up with the job as the staff arranger of the Navy Band, which was no surprise to anybody who knew you. Anyway, I just thought that was a great story about my friend Rob, and what a memory you had.
Wow, it brings back a lot of memories, doesn't it?
It does.
In fact, going to Great Lakes in winter, which was in and of itself an experience. I believe it was
Yes.
October.
22 below zero.
It's horrible. And you made all the staff paper by hand, so with
Yeah.
an ink pen and a ruler. I'm really happy that you think it is so remarkable that I was able to do that without a piano. But I can tell you that all the professors that I had would say, "Well, you should be able to do that." So, but if you think it's that spectacular, I'll say, "Okay, yes, it was." But really, if you do this kind of work, it's something you should be able to do. And it
Well,
was
it blew my mind way back then, 30 years ago.
it was a little harder,
Uh,
with all the distractions that we had, of course, going on. In fact, I remember one particular when we started it. I think was writing the score. I was on watch, and I had to stand at a attention or something, and I could at least talk, and I was dictating notes like a bar at a time to you, and you were taking it all down. So anyway,
I
yeah, it was
remember that.
quite an experience. But it was a lot of fun, especially looking back at it. Yeah.
Yeah, and that recording still stands the test of time.
Oh
I
yeah.
should put it on Facebook because I've never done that. So,
Well,
uh,
you have
so I think our folks would really enjoy it.
oh
What's
sure.
that?
You have a great the Bluebonnet Brass, and they were great, phenomenal musicians, all of you. And so it was a great thrill to hear them play it. And I mean, I
Yeah,
remember in boot camp, I think there were four of us that were, or five of us that were musicians, but one was a percussionist. So I think since we had the band, we had to recruit a tuba player to fill out the brass bands.
right.
But it was a lot of fun.
It was a lot of fun. Um, Now, tell me about the Bells of Christmas Day.
Yes.
Give me an overview of what you created.
Well, it took, wanted to make something for Christmas time that was, exuberant and, really just embodies the joy of the season, really. So I thought, well, we'll use, Christmas carols that are known. People all know these great Christmas carols, but let's present them in slightly different ways, so that it's not just the same, something different. So I thought we could use different genres of music. We could take classical, of course, but then we would use jazz. We could use Latin and some elements of pop music, and put them all together, kind of side by side. Not a fusion of the whole thing, but each genre living comfortably beside the next. So that was my aim, and so we decided on a particular size of a group that we would use that would best show these arrangements off to their best. And we have a very nice ensemble with brass and woodwinds and strings, exuberant bells. You'll hear chimes, and there's a lot of stuff like that. Um, and I think
But
that's really
yet
what I'm interested.
it's completely different than anything that you would hear on the radio.
Yes,
It's
yes.
I think it's way better.
Well, thank you. Yeah, I think it's, of course I love it because I'm very close to it, of course. And I'm hope that everyone will enjoy it so, very much. But yeah, I put it's a lot of myself into it. It's each piece is, just a different presentation of familiar Christmas carols that I think everyone will enjoy.
Now, this has 14 different songs in it, so it's really a suite I guess you could say different movements, but you know, in essence, it's really 14 different songs.
Yes, and as a matter of fact, and within each particular selection, there are multiple pieces within that. So you could say that it's more than, but there are actually 14 specific selections, which will there there'll a break between each one. Sometimes there'll be a little bit of very quick narration between one to bridge to the next, but they flow together really very nicely.
Now, most of these are going to be songs that people know. Is that correct?
That is correct. Yeah, except for a few that are
Yeah.
originals. The
Yeah.
the opening is an original by me, and and uh, and there's another piece within the suite, which is another original. But they'll enjoy that as well. It'll bring
That
the spirit.
the Flight of the Snow Geese.
Actually, there are more than two. It's true. I forgot. Yes, Flight of the Snow Goose is an original that is a programmatic piece that depicts musically the flight of the snow goose through migrating from summer to winter, back to summer again. It's
Right. And I think that's actually one of the very best songs in the whole suite, and it really shows your mastery of composition. I think it's just one of the highlights. Even though people haven't heard it, when you do hear it, you're going to be really, really impressed by that. I think it's just masterful.
no, thank you.
Now, how did you choose what songs to include in the suite?
I wanted to pick pieces that, well, as far as the Christmas carols, ones that people know, and oftentimes putting different Christmas carols together of a certain theme. As an example, the Bells of Christmas Day, that particular selection will start with the Christmas carol, I Heard the Bells on Christmas Day, but then it goes directly into Carol of the Bells. So you can see the connection, bells, bells, right? And it goes into Carol of the Bells, and then that is taken from a classical presentation of it into a quick jazz waltz, which sails through to the end where it goes back to a more traditional rendition of it. And it goes through many different moods and changes and tempos, and it's a lot of fun. It's a fun ride all the way.
Yeah, very much. What makes them different? There are 14 songs, but each one of them is very different, has its own flavor and stuff. Talk to me about that.
It's interesting. It's something that I was thinking about. I could ask you the question because you've listened to the sort of the mock-up recordings of these, which I've sent to you. So mock-up is just what it sounds like on my software. I could make a recording out of the score, and it's not a great representation of it, but it's an adequate amount. Anyway, so what makes them different? Well, I suppose it's that each one is filtered through me. So I suppose that's what makes my stuff different from anyone else's. That's all we do as writers, composers, arrangers, orchestrators. That's our life experience, and so you're taking different musical material, and it's being filtered through your mind, through your experiences, through the things that you like, and that's what should come out into the finished product. So I guess it's me with all of my my quirks or likes and
And experiences, yeah.
experiences, sure. And when I say quirks, I mean musical quirks, such as things that I like to listen to. I might like to use different elements or put two. Oftentimes I like to put two things together, like maybe two different themes together.
Well, you
And
sometimes use different classical pieces on top of the melody, so you have several layers going on.
yes, and that's it's a technique that I use a lot. A lot of composers use that, where you'll have one theme. And then there's of course, the central theme, the counter theme, and then there's this thesis, antithesis, that whole thing, and then there's oftentimes you'll hear the two come together at one point. And so I like to play with
Right,
that idea a lot. So I do
yeah.
like to put things together. See, do it
Well,
that way.
one of the techniques that you use, you flow in and out of between major and minor, pretty frequently.
I do. Uh, I like to oftentimes when I'm approaching a piece to arrange or compose, whatever it may be. Sometimes I'll presented a certain way, and then I sort of play it against type a little bit later on. I might move it into a minor key. I might do that, or I might slow the tempo way down when it was maybe moving along quite quickly, or put it in half the tempo. So it's all for to generate interest, of course, but it should tell a story, just like any story. So it should move from one point to the next to the next. No different than, for instance, if you're reading a book, a good story. So there would be different peaks, and then it'll fall off a little bit, and then next peaks a little bit more, and then you reach a certain high point, and then it might kind of fall off a little bit at the end, and there's a resolution. And it's no different. And this whole suite, if you think about it, it's the same way. Within each of the 14 selections, there will be peaks and valleys, and you'll reach a high point and then come down. But then overall, all 14 together are the same thing. So it's think of it maybe like chapters in a book, and that's what the whole suite is about.
Now, John Korak, who is, you know,
I do.
who he's our conductor,
I know.
and he talks about it reminds him of like a kaleidoscope. Thank you. Is very similar to a kaleidoscope. The more you twist it, the more it seems to change shapes, but you're still looking at the same thing. It's just through different lights and stuff like that. Would you say that's an accurate representation of what you're hearing?
Did John say that about the piece?
Yeah. Uh-huh.
Wow. Thank you, John. Yes, that's very accurate. In fact, I'm very happy that he said that. Yes. Because
Do you have to be a musician to enjoy this, or is it pretty accessible to everybody?
no, you don't have to be. It's musicians will maybe be able to see things maybe under the surface. They'll be able to detect certain things, but it's no different than perhaps myself. I love art, and my wife has her degree in art history, and so I when we go to a museum together, she sees things differently, perhaps in a painting. I still enjoy the painting, and I'll say I really love this painting, and then she may point something out to me. Well, did you know this, or that? And then I'll say, oh yes, yeah, I see that now. But overall, if I didn't know that, I would still enjoy it because I'm enjoying the piece as in its entirety. Whereas it's no different than music. Person that is not a musician can enjoy it because of what it sounds like. They don't perhaps need to know that in this bar or this bar, the orchestration does a certain thing, and over here it's a little different. That may not be important. It's something another musician would get intricately what it was, but average person would just hear something, maybe a little different here, a
The
little
way
bit here.
the way I look at it, it's like layers.
Hmm.
There's just a lot of layers, and you still can enjoy it no matter what, because the picture's gorgeous. But if you can see, the more layers that you see, the more things that you hear and identify, the more enjoyment. What do you think of that?
Sure. Well, getting back to the art analogy, I'm sure you're familiar with, Jackson Pollock, right? The paint can drips and all that. The art. He used that style for a certain period of his life. And someone interviewing him and asked him about the deeper meaning behind certain aspects of this. And he said, look, when you go outside and you see a field of flowers, you don't stop and sit and try to analyze why. You look at the field of flowers and you say, gee, I like it. It says something to me. I just like
Yeah. Uh-huh.
it. And so it's the same thing, really. Jackson Pollock with his paint trips, or say, for instance, me with how I'm presenting something. You don't have to really get into the technical aspects of why it works a certain way. You can just enjoy the whole, and don't worry about all that other stuff.
Rob, tell me again, what kinds of things are you doing now?
Mostly a lot of classical music now for original pieces, yes, which is when I studied, when I was in college, I had the privilege and honor of studying with Johnny Carisi, great, great writer. And I didn't say jazz writer, although he's known for that quite a bit. He didn't like to be labeled a jazz writer. He said, I'm an
Uh-huh.
American composer. And people would be astonished that he wrote legit pieces. He did. It's just that most of the stuff that he was known for was in jazz. And I've certainly done a lot of jazz writing in so far in my likes, but I enjoy also writing
You
original
also,
pieces.
by the way, have a fabulous big band CD that you did and used all, I guess, DC musicians,
Yeah, I
a
really
lot of them from the military band and stuff. Um, and we could even have that for sale here whenever you come.
sure. Yeah,
And yeah, it's got Love is a Swinging Thing, I think is the name of it.
it is. Yeah,
Yeah,
it's a lot of fun working on that one because I got to do
yeah,
a project just for me, and the way
yeah,
oftentimes when you're writing for somebody else, there are certain parameters that are in place that you adhere to. Perhaps instrumentation, how big the ensemble is, or the music selection. And oftentimes, working for different artists, they may not have a clear idea as to what they want. So they'll pick material, and if they don't really have an idea of what they want, then that I can tell them kind of, well, let's try this, and we can do that. And I've been fortunate to uh, to work with a lot of people that give me that latitude. So I have a lot of
right.
doing that. Mhm.
You've also worked with a lot of Nashville musicians, haven't you?
Yes, as a matter of fact, oftentimes I'm the how do I put this? They know my name and they may not know my face. So, because nowadays you don't have to travel to different areas, especially as a writer, if you want to stay busy. So sometimes I'm able to be at a studio, and that's the way I like it. But oftentimes I'm writing things that I have to send off to someone, and so a lot of stuff now has been going down in Nashville, and it's the great musicians. There are great musicians all over, but it's it's
Yeah.
it's interesting to hear also how the engineers will mix the final product at the end. It's quite a little bit of a different sound and very good. So yeah,
Now, you wrote these songs for Songbird and for Cleaver.
yes.
Let me ask you about that. What was going through your mind?
Well, I wanted to. I know you have a great music venue down there at the Songbird, and I wanted to have something for your town, which is a great town down there. It's a beautiful town. It's actually the Songbird is really a vibrant spot. So I wanted to have something that was your own, that you could say is Cleburne's own, and for Christmas.
Right. So I call it a Christmas present to Cleburne.
Absolutely, yeah.
Yeah. So, ladies and gentlemen, if you're listening, once again, this piece that Rob wrote for the Songbird and for Cleburne is a Christmas present, so to speak. It's a whole bunch of these wonderful arrangements and written with this masterful artist who arranged these pieces. And he really didn't have any restrictions on what he wrote. So he just did what he thought was, hey, this would be really beautiful this way. This would be exciting this way. And I think it's kind of neat that you actually had the freedom to write just whatever was in your head.
That's always nice when that didn't always happen, work writing for DC or things like that. Although I did my best to always, you know, you always have to put yourself in every piece, right? Your personality has to be there. But to have free total reign over I want to do, that's a nice thing, I have to say. To put it mildly, it's a very nice thing.
Well, my friend, we are so much looking forward to this. And you are coming down here, right?
Yes, as a matter of fact, I'll be one of the members of the orchestra too. So I get to work under John's talented baton on that. And so
So, ladies and gentlemen, please make plans to come to the Bells of Christmas Day on December 13th and 14th. So you can make it an evening or you can make it a matinee show. And you can meet Rob and do his autograph and just totally enjoy this. I guarantee you, it's a fantastic piece of music. Rob really is very much a masterful arranger, and and when it's all said and done, what you're really going to do is just enjoy yourself. So, Rob, we look forward to seeing you as you come in December, and let's have a ton of fun.
Absolutely.
Ladies and gentlemen, this is Tom Burkett with Rob Vono for the Songbird Live. It's another episode of Sessions.